First, I want to say congratulations. I think sometimes we lose sight of, making FCA and making this team. And this is a big honor. This is one of the best teams in the country. So as far as the families and all the boys, congratulations. I know it's been kind of a stressful process, but now we can finally exhale, take a deep breath. And I'm looking forward to getting out there with everyone. And the seventh grade team, 2027s, I'm looking forward to getting out there for the first time. And the 25s, let's go, baby. Let's get it. So special guest tonight, Coach Myers. And I want to be respectful of his time, so we're going to introduce him right now, and we'll get right to it. Coach Myers, somebody I really, really look up to, and somebody that has really helped me develop me into a young man. Coach Myers coached me at Ohio State, and he's also the head coach of the U.S. U19 team. And not only is Coach Myers, as far as coaching lacrosse, Big Ten co-coach of the year, coached over 21 All-Americans, 11 conference player of the years that he's coached and recruited. He's a great developer of character. And that's something I've really idolized. And one of the reasons why I asked him to talk tonight to the families and the boys, because not only does he know the X's and O's of the games, but he also knows how to be a good teammate, how to hold guys accountable, what it looks like to build a great culture. He's taught me so much about building a culture that I feel like it's very important for us as we start our seasons together to learn that, so we can have that seed and have it grow. And not only that, so like another example, we at Ohio State, and this isn't about Ohio State, this is about just, everything in general, over 2,500 hours of community service, those things that are important. So Coach Myers has really had a positive impact of not only, developed me as a lacrosse player, but developed me as a young man. And so nobody will outwork or out-prepare Coach Myers. I know that for a fact. Win or lose, when we would get on the bus, Coach Myers would have the assistant coaches breaking down film, and he's up there on his laptop watching film of the game that we just played and cutting film up the whole bus ride home. I mean, the man does not stop. And he's someone that I really look up to. And he's really pushed myself, and he's really helped me to develop, like I said. And so I want to have him talk about, one, what the boys should be doing from a training standpoint. What are coaches looking for in the recruiting process? What makes teams successful? And we're also going to talk about the culture piece. So while at Ohio State, we developed this thing called the Blueprint. And so the coach that worked with Urban Meyer at Ohio State, who helped develop Ohio State's football culture, helped develop Ohio State's lacrosse culture. And so what we did as a team is we developed a blueprint. And so what I'm going to have Coach Myers open up with here tonight is talking about that blueprint. And I'm kind of give him the floor. I'm going to ask him a couple questions, and then we'll open it up for some Q&A after that. So Coach Myers.
Good evening, Coach Capino. I was really grateful for the introduction. It's great to see so many faces, and to the young men on the Zoom, congratulations on this this opportunity to be part of a very, very special club and organization, and just very thankful to be here with you this evening.
So, Coach, could you speak about how important culture is, and talk about the blueprint that we kind of developed at Ohio State? There were some teams that might have been more talented than others, but, the culture piece wasn't necessarily there. And then as we started to develop that, that kind of trumped having all the talent. So could you speak about the culture piece and the blueprint?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I appreciate, again, the opportunity, and also if I can share my screen here with everybody. The Buckeye Blueprint, as Coach Capinos has referred to, is on my screen. And this was something that was created by the men, those that had come before us, and the men that were on the team. I reached out to some alumni. And I think the key with culture, when I was a young head coach, I got the opportunity to become the head coach at Ohio State at 28 years old. There was a big learning curve there for me, certainly still is, as I continue to grow as a leader. But, I think I was guilty of a really wordy mission statement that I had in my office. And, you know, I felt really good about it, but I got challenged on it one day by a gentleman that walked in and said, "Hey, listen, do your players all know that?" And the answer was no. And so I think that really got me thinking about clarity and how can I bring total clarity, you know, to who we are and to what we're chasing. And that's where the blueprint really started going. And Casey mentioned a gentleman by the name of Tim Kite, who kind of guided me in this journey. And we created this blueprint with the help of the men. And this was back in 2015. And we haven't changed a word on it. And the success of this blueprint, the chase, if you will, really comes down to the men's ability to take this from their head to their heart. And if this resonates here, you know, you have a chance in a locker room to be really special. And I think the other important thing that this really takes off is so often in sports, we're defined by what that final score says, that, you know, the wins and the losses, if you will. And this is an evaluation tool, you know. So, you know, one of the things Coach mentioned was, how do we, you know, walk away tonight and have some things that as a young man I can do to continue to sharpen the saw, continue to get better. Well, this is a tool that I use as a father, as a husband, you know, and as a coach, you know, and a lot of times those hats are in conflict with one another. You know, when I'm being a great coach, sometimes I'm falling short as a dad and vice versa. So, you know, this really, like I said, is an evaluation tool. And it takes some of when we used it as Team USA, we didn't talk about beating Canada. You know, the only talk we had was about the blueprint. You know, everybody wanted to talk about USA, Canada. We just wanted to talk about chasing the best version of Team USA. And it's the same thing with the Buckeyes. So, you know, the three core tenets, if you will, are all in, do your job, and we, not me. And those are tenets that you hear in sports. You know, the all in, that was created really in 2013 when Casey was a sophomore. And we made a run. So we wanted that to be a big part of it. But what really, when this comes to life, what I think brings our blueprint to life is the specific behaviors that you have. So when you have a team and you look at, you know, Clemson says all in on their chin strap. What is all in Buckeye Lacrosse? Well, it's these three behaviors, and it's an outcome that you have from doing these three behaviors. And so, give you another example. This fall, when we were virtual with the recruiting process due to the pandemic, this is how I started every Zoom call with a family. We started with the blueprint, with some introductions, getting to know each other. But we went through this, and I wanted every potential future Buckeye to start his recruiting process with our blueprint and to really get a good sense of who we are and the expectations that we have. So I'm doing that with you here today. And I think for a young man on the Zoom, as you're listening, hopefully you'll take a couple notes here and you'll be able to just kind of absorb what we feel like is our measuring stick. So, you know, one of the things I'll highlight when you look at all in is what does it mean to give a relentless effort? All right. We hear that a lot, you know, effort level. And, you know, bottom line is your effort level and in middle school and high school and 9th grade, 10th grade, it's always going to be challenged. You know, you get to college, Casey's a hard worker. Casey's one of the hardest workers I've ever coached. You know, at the end of the day, you know, when he left Loyola and he came to Ohio State, he had to level up his level of work ethic. He had to level up his level of effort. You know, relentless effort on a Tuesday in Columbus at a morning practice was different than what he was used to. And that's not to say that what he was doing back home was falling short. It's just a different level. You know, and so I think your ability to adapt around your surroundings and not let your surroundings, like, you know, hey, you may be one of the best players in your high school, you know, and now you've made this great club and, you know, you haven't arrived, you know, so now you have to ask yourself, what does it look like to be part of this team and give a relentless effort? You know, the ability to focus on execution, that's a challenge. You know? So like when you're I don't know if that's me, Case, or when you're at practice, are you able to focus on the task at hand? Meaning, you know, if you're doing your summer reading, are you thinking about lacrosse? You know, if you're out playing lacrosse or you're at a practice, you know, with your club, are you thinking about, you know, the fortnight you're going to play later? You know, so really the ability to be here now, to be in the moment and focus, that has a lot, that's a big part of being all in. And then finally, the embracing ease, what we refer to as events. You know, so this is an event for everyone that's on here. You have hundreds of events every day, and many of you are familiar with the E plus R equals O, but embracing tough things, you know, tough E's. Buckeyes embrace those. We don't run from those, and you're going to have an injury. You're going to have adversity. You're going to have things. So what do you do? Being all in is being able to embrace, you know, challenges when they come in front of you. And the outcome of being all in, as we just defined it, is we are tougher than any opponent or situation we face. You know, you walk out to practice, it's raining. We love it. You know, you walk out to practice and it's hot. Embrace that. You know, you walk out to practice and your best players, you know, rolls his ankle. Great, we got this. You know, it's loving on whatever comes your way and embracing the fact that we're gonna overcome this together. The second standard is do your job, and it's hard to do your job if you're not all in. And I think the cadence of this is really important. You know, understanding and owning your role. You know, very often in teams, it's not so much about the role that you want or the role that you hope to have. You're like, yeah, I'd love to be on the first midfield line. Well, Coach Capinos has a different vision for me. So it's really important for me as a coach, and this is where the accountability for me comes in. I have to make sure that I do a great job of articulating Coach Capino's role. Coach Casey, you're going to be a defensive midfielder for the Buckeyes. All right, here's what I need you to do. You're going to be our third defensive midfielder, and we need you to take, you know, 5 to 6 shifts in each half, and we need you to play at this level, you know, and really bring total clarity to what's expected. And he has to understand it, and then he has to own it and really take total ownership over that. You know, coach, as a freshman, your role is to make these guys better. You know, coach, I want to play. Well, that's great. And that's great to have that dream and that aspiration and that goal. And I want to foster that too. But right now, I need you to understand that the job that you're doing right now is what's going to lead you to that next opportunity. And I think that's where some of us get caught up. You know, we're so consumed with what we want that we're not taking ownership over what's right here in front of us. Okay. And, you know, the training with purpose and knowing the why, you know, Coach Capino is a great example of that. If you had the privilege to be around him, you understand this is a man with great purpose in his life. You know, we want our Buckeyes to train with the purpose, you know, and for me as a coach, I want to explain the why, you know, and for coaches that are on there, that's an important piece with today's athlete. You know, I like athletes that are curious, that ask great questions. Coach, give me a better understanding of why, not like just a curious way. Being curious is a great thing as an athlete, you know, and asking great questions, and really honing in on those answers so that you understand why we're squatting on Tuesdays and why we're doing this, you know, why we're getting up in the mornings to train, you know, so that you can own it, so that you can train and understand the purpose behind it. And then finally, your coachability, right? That's key. And I think everybody on here will say, yeah, sure, I'm coachable. Well, you know, let me define that a little bit more, you know, and again, I'll use Casey as a great example because he was a great Buckeye and a true humble warrior, you know, but one of the things that I loved about Casey was never our best player. He was never the guy in our roster that was the All-American or the guy the media was talking about. But Casey was a guy that craved coaching, and his teammates respected the heck out of him because he was a guy that absolutely maximized his abilities, because he was a guy that was relentless. He wanted that feedback. When he got feedback, he would process it and come back and ask for more. And that was one of the things that I loved about coaching Casey, was that this was someone that came to work every day with enthusiasm, a smile on his face, but had this appetite to improve, you know, and really craved it. And I think that's something that really is a differentiator, you know, for us as coaches. What we're looking for is this someone that really loves lacrosse and just loves the idea of being coached up. You know, and that was one of the things, quite frankly, when we were picking Team USA, was a big deciding factor. You put 100 of the United States best players in the field. How do you pick it down to 50 and then ultimately 23? A lot of it came down to their ability to be coachable, you know, and receive coaching. It's always easy to give truth. You know, it's hard to receive truth. And when you're a really good player and you've been the best player in your team for a long time, you're probably not getting a lot of hard truth from your coaches, you know. And I think that if you are that guy and you are one of the more talented players in your community and your team, who are the truth tellers in your life? That's a question I would have you write down. Who are the people that you consistently get truth from? You know, in Buckeye Lacrosse, we talk a lot about truth and love, you know, and you need both. And listen, truth and anger, in my opinion, is still going to be better than someone telling you what you want to hear, right? You know, and so at the end of the day, accept that in your life and understand who are the people that really maybe are challenging. Maybe they're making me uncomfortable. Maybe my Spanish teacher isn't my favorite, but man, she challenges me consistently day in day to be better. You know, that's something you want to run towards, not run away from. And I think that's a really key piece here, guys, that I hope you hear and embrace. Don't run away from the hard things, you know, run right into them. And those are sometimes people that ultimately are hard to work with at first, but at the end of the day are the people that really can change your life. And then finally, the we, not me, it's kind of the glue to this whole thing. You know, it talks about treating teammates with love and respect. Every action must be made with the family in mind and unwavering loyalty. Those are two massive statements in Buckeye Lacrosse. And we understand that we don't have an unbreakable brotherhood. We work every day to create and sustain one. We understand how fragile that is. And each year is a new year and a new journey. And I should be remiss. I go back for a second. You know, the ability to operate at maximum capacity and beyond, which is the outcome of doing your job. If you stopped and asked yourself how many teams you've played on, lacrosse, football, soccer, basketball, that at the end of the year, when the year ended, regardless of your record, you could say, hey, we didn't operate at maximum capacity. We didn't get the most out of us. To me, that's one of the hardest feelings you have as an athlete. You know, if you get on that bus, like Coach said, and you left it all out there and everybody poured it out for each other and you played your tails off, you know, you can rest easy on that. You know, it may not be easy to swallow if it didn't break your way. But a lot of times those answers lie in guys just doing their job, accepting their roles, putting the we before the me. So that's our blueprint. And we refer to this is on the cover of every player's playbook. It's the ability as a player to really self-evaluate. One of the things we say in Buckeye Lacrosse a lot is, you know, Buckeyes point thumbs, not fingers. You know, be a guy that's a thumb guy, not a finger guy. You know, and I think this blueprint is very humbling. You know, me as a coach now, this will be my 19th year as a Buckeye, and yet I still look at this blueprint. I'm very humbled by the work that has to be done and the growth that I still have as a coach and as a leader, as I said, as a husband and a father. So, Casey, I'll stop there. I know it was a lot for me on the blueprint, and certainly we can pivot and take questions or go wherever you'd like from here.
No, I love that, Coach. Thank you for sharing that. And I love what you say about being curious and asking questions as an athlete. So many good points. And, one thing that you just mentioned was be a thumb guy, not a finger pointer guy. And it's just holding yourself accountable, looking inward, making sure that, first take a look in the mirror at what you're doing rather than blaming someone else, and holding yourself to that standard. And you also mentioned the E plus R equals O. So embracing the E's, which are the events. Could you expand on that a little bit for the athletes?
Yeah, well, I think the events are inevitable. You're going to have events, like you said, your alarm clock going off in the morning, maybe a teacher that you don't necessarily vibe with. Things are going to happen. And ultimately, you don't control the event, you control the response. So ultimately, how you respond, that you are in total control of that. And so we'll talk about what.
Quick, Coach Myers, let me interrupt you there. So guys, there's a formula called E plus R equals O. So imagine like a math formula, E plus R equals O, and each letter has a different. So the E stands for event, the R stands for your response, and that equals your outcome. So that's what Coach Myers is referring to right now.
Yeah, well said, Casey. So the events are going to happen, and the outcome is where we often fixate on. But what we ultimately have control over is our response. And the response is the ability to, I come out and it's pouring rain at practice. I can respond by complaining, or I can embrace the E and say, hey, man, it's raining out. We're going to have an opportunity to practice in the rain and get better at something that's going to be a little bit more challenging today. And so I know that's a silly example, but like that's the above the line response versus the below the line response. And so I think just looking at life, and a lot of it's just a mindset of being able to really tackle things that come your way. And I used the Spanish, as an example. I struggled in Espanol when I was your age, and I didn't like it. My mom, I wanted everything I could do to get out of it, and ultimately I had a poor response to it, whether I just needed to embrace that E and just say, hey, listen, this is something I need to do, and I need to take this challenge and love on it, And so thinking about some of the things in your life that are hard, and really kind of going for it, and so I think those are things that are key, as you're thinking about that E plus R equals O.
Awesome. Yeah. So one thing that we did as a team is we listed out every single E that we could think of, being on a bus trip and we get a flat tire, or being up at halftime, being down at halftime. What are our responses going to be to these situations? And ultimately, we have a better chance of getting a better outcome based on our responses, the things that we can control. But we can't control the events. We can control our response to the events. And that's one thing that I really took away from learning from Coach Myers. So Coach Myers, I'm a 7th grader or 9th grader, and I want to get recruited to play Division I lacrosse. What should I be doing day to day? Should I be playing other sports? Should I be watching film? Should I be playing lacrosse in my backyard for an hour a day? What do you think that looks like? I know you have two boys, third grade and fifth grade. What do you think that looks like?
Yeah, well, I appreciate the question, and there's no easy answer for it. But a couple of things that I would tell you are key is number one, less Fortnite. You know, put the sticks down. And who's that? I saw somebody smile. All right, I can't see his name, but I got to smile at one of these guys. I can tell he's a Fortnite guy. You know, less video games. You know, so that's not helping you. And you guys will all laugh, and then you'll get off this, and somebody will go play an hour of video games tonight. You watch. That would be number one. You know, so just eliminating what you only have. ATE is what we refer to. It's your attention, time, and energy. You only have so much during each day, right? Each day is a blessing. And so when you think about it that way, of like, I have my attention, time, and energy, and I have so much for the day. And if I give 2 hours to video games and I give another hour and 45 to scrolling through TikTok and Instagram, that's a big chunk of the day that all of a sudden is now evaporated. That's dominated your attention, time, and energy. All right. And I think there's probably some guys on here that I'm sure are guilty of giving too much of their time to two things. So the right away, Casey, is the ability to have the self-discipline to identify areas in your life that maybe you're not strong enough right now to kind of curtail, say, hey, I'm pretty good. I can treat myself to a couple hours of video games. And listen, there's nothing wrong with playing a video game here and there. I'm just saying, making sure that you're evaluating, your routine and trying to say, hey, where can I substitute 30 minutes of reading, for 30 minutes of phone time, Second thing I would say would be, we use this expression a lot, is just the ability to recognize being hard on self, but not down on self, and to me, there's a big difference between there. Like when you're hard on, it's okay to be hard on yourself, right? It's okay to challenge yourself and have a very high standard for yourself. It's not okay to get down on yourself. And I think to be able to identify and understand the differences between the two, have an expectation. If you don't play well in a practice or your stick's not throwing well, don't hang your head and go home and pout about it. Spend an extra 30 minutes on the wall and get that right. And I think that to me, that goes back to like the toughness and the ability to respond to challenges. But like I said, don't be afraid to be hard on yourself and set a very high standard. And just make sure that you can recognize when you're getting down on yourself or you're feeling like, hey, your confidence isn't there. Some of the best players I've ever had the privilege of coaching were incredible at that. I think about a guy you played with, Casey, Jesse King, right? He was one of the most talented guys that we've had come through Buckeye Lacrosse, but he was early in his career, he would get down on himself. And when he mastered the ability to be hard on himself, but not down, we took off, and he certainly took off as a lacrosse player. And so I think that's as an athlete, the ability to harness that is a big deal. Falling in love with the game, never looking at lacrosse as a chore or as a to-do, and whatever that looks like. I know for my boys, we just try to have time in the driveway where I'll go out as a dad, and I don't script anything other than just time. We're throwing behind the backs and between our legs, and just loving having that stick in our hand. And I know when I fell in love with the game, I played football and basketball in high school. But the time I loved was like, when I had my Walkman in and Walkman on, and I was hitting the wall by myself, and just listening to some Led Zeppelin and throwing, different passes that I'd seen on YouTube. And I was a young kid growing up in the state of Maine, where lacrosse really wasn't even being played by a whole lot of kids. And so it was really just falling in love with it, and falling in love with trying new things. And I never looked at playing lacrosse as like a chore or a means to an end or like a thing. I loved it. I loved to compete. I loved to get after it. And that was really my pathway.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And then, so another question too I have for you is, you've been a part of some great teams, and 2017, Ohio State made the run to the national championship. And in 2016, you guys won the gold medal with Team USA. What did you recognize with those teams? What did you see about the players on the team? Was there any common traits? Like what defined those teams? Like what made those teams special?
I think the big thing with Team USA, and we're going through it right now, so it's kind of unique. We got the USA process down to 24. And these are guys that are some of the best in the country, guys like Brennan O'Neill and Pat Cavanaugh, and, you know, guys that really have played at a high level already in college lacrosse from all over. So, you know, the trait that I have found, we have experience in some of these guys. And I think back, we had our last training camp for Team USA in June. And one of the things we did was we brought on Jared Bernhardt, Michael Sowers, and Brian Costabile, and they Zoomed with the now current USA team. Those are 3 alumni. And all 3 of those guys were seniors in high school when we went to Vancouver. And, you know, Brian Costabile was a defensive midfielder on that USA team. And, you know, Jared Bernhardt ran on our second midfield line. And, you know, I think what I'm getting at is, you know, you look at these guys and the players they are now, their ability to really go back to the blueprint and take on and own a role that maybe was different than the role that they were playing, you know, at their high school or certainly their prospective college, and really put the team first. You know, Austin Sims was a guy that was on that team, was a captain, and he led Princeton in scoring. He was on their man up. He was one of the best middies in college lacrosse, and he ended up playing defensive midfield for Team USA and was one of the oldest guys in the team, you know, and he totally embraced that. So I think when you have guys and some of your best players are A, your hardest workers, and B, are selfless, you know, a guy like, you know, Ryan Tarafenko, who's willing to do anything that's asked of him, you know, for the team. Those are kind of guys that really, you know, set the edge. You go back to someone like Dominique Alexander, who you played with, Coach Capinos. You know, he was a guy that if we said, Dominique, we need you to play defense this game and not run our first midfield line, no problem, coach. We'll do whatever you need. You know, and so I think it's when you have guys that have that kind of an attitude, and they're we guys versus me guys, and they're your top dudes, that can really take a team to another level, in my opinion.
Yeah, so having that humility and just putting the team before yourself and making sure that it's not about yourself, it's however you can help the team. I definitely agree with that 100%. So I've asked enough questions. I want to give you guys the opportunity to ask any questions that you have to Coach Myers. So let's open it up right now. If you guys have any questions, players, families, whatever it might be, just want to give you that opportunity right now to ask Coach Myers.
What would you do differently?
I didn't totally hear that, Coach.
Alex, could you repeat that, please? It's hard to hear you there, Alex. If you type it in the chat, Alex, we could answer the question for you. While Alex is doing that, does anyone else have a question?
Yes, I have a question. What do you look for defensemen when you're recruiting on and off the field?
I appreciate the question, brother. You know, defensively, it's interesting. You know, I think you may get a little bit different answer from different coaches. I like the versatility. You know, I like a young man that can play a bit of both. You know, I think about someone like Joe Muir. Had his birthday yesterday, by the way, Casey. Big birthday for Joey. But, you know, he was a McDonough guy, and I had the privilege of coaching Joey, and he was a guy that was able to play, you know, anywhere on the field we needed him to, really. You know, he was a long stick midi at times. He could play close. So that versatility, I think, is key. So you may be a close defenseman on your high school team, and you may be a long stick midi for Team FCA, and that's okay. And you can respond by going home and complaining to your mom and dad about it, you know, or you can embrace that and be excited about it, you know. And that goes back to our earlier point. Number two would be, I like to say feet and fists. I want a guy who's confrontational with his hands, not his stick. You know, your goal as a defenseman is to keep that person between your fists, you know, and too often I'm seeing guys that are playing with their stick. I want violence between your gloves, right? Really confrontational with your feet and your fists. And in order to be confrontational with your fists, you got to have really good feet. You know, so I think we have our defensemen play with nubs and short sticks a lot, you know, so I think Again, don't be afraid. If Coach Capinos gives you a short stick and says, hey, you're going to play the whole practice with a short stick at close defense, it's going to make you uncomfortable. You'll have a choice. You can complain about that or think that Coach Capinos is out of his mind, which to agree he may be. Or you can just say, this is awesome. I'm getting to try something new, and this is really hard to guard, and I'm getting my feet better. And then there's a pathway there. And it's important for Coach Capinos to give you the why, going back to, like I said, the blueprint of why we would have you do that, but embrace it. And I would say feet and fists off the field. It's going to be probably the same for positionally. We obviously want young men with great character, great grades. I think a defenseman that has a really good feel for the fact that he's only going to be on the ball a small percentage of the time. I think the off-ball play is lost. I get highlight videos constantly of just guys running around shooting, with the ball in their stick as a defenseman, which is great, but at the end of the day, I want to see what it looks like off the ball. I got a guy right now from Calvert Hall who's playing on Team USA by the name of Jake Schneider, who I think is one of the best off-ball defensemen I've ever had the privilege of coaching. And he's like an off-ball savant. I mean, his voice, his ability to communicate and direct traffic. I mean, he may not be one of the best cover guys. If we were just picking the 3 best cover defensemen, he may not play for us. But because he is so good at getting his teammates in the right position and communicating, we can't keep him off the field. And so that's another thing to think about as you're kind of building your defensive repertoire, if you will.
All right. Thank you, Coach.
You got it, big dog. I didn't get your name.
Oh, I'm Jake.
Jake, you were the one I saw smile when I mentioned Fortnite. You're not playing too much Fortnite, are you, Jake?
No.
All right.
It's basketball, 2K or whatever it is.
Yeah.
2K is absorbing you. All right, just a little. Cut it back a hair.
Yeah.
All right, my man. We got any others in the chat, or is that it, Kate, Coach?
Hey, Coach. This is Coach Rockhill. How are you tonight?
Outstanding. It's great to hear from you.
Hey, can you talk to the boys a little bit about the importance of the academic side of things? I think sometimes we lose track of that. As they enter high school, as you know, it becomes more and more important. So I wanted them to hear from you the importance of maintaining those grades.
Yeah, it's crucial. Yeah, absolutely, Coach. And I appreciate you saying that. Again, going back to that blueprint, that's the same standard you got to have in the classroom as you do on the field. Very rarely will I see a guy that gives relentless effort on the field, but it's not giving it in the classroom. And if that's the case, then he's not coming to Ohio State. So you want that to mirror, and it's the same way you should be as a sibling. If you got a big brother or sister, what kind of a big brother are you? What kind of a sibling are you? So create standards in your life that mirror, all walks. There's nothing that's more disappointing than going to an event and seeing a young man play for Team FCA. I mean, like Coach Capino, let me tell you, that young man is excellent. He is really, really good playing with his feet and fists. I thought Jake was one of the best defensemen I saw at the event. Coach Capino says, well, Coach, I'm really sorry. He just doesn't have the grades, unfortunately. And you know what? That's it. I move on. And I think that's very rare in terms of the club, I'm sure, for many of you. But the reality is it's a very competitive world out there. 70 Division I schools, there's limited spots. So if we're looking at 10 defensemen and, 3 or 4 we narrow it down to, and 2 of them have incredible grades, and they're really interested in us, it's going to make the decision easier. So you don't want that to come down to something that keeps you from a great opportunity. But I think most importantly, it's your future. There's certainly some guys that are making a little bit of money playing lacrosse, but that work, that effort you're putting in the classroom is your pathway to getting into a great school, and then chasing, career goals long after college. So I would just continue to encourage you to make sure that is a big time priority in your life.
Coach, we have a question in the chat from Alex. He said, what would you say to your 12-year-old self, and what would you do differently?
Wow, that's deep, Alex. I appreciate that, brother. Good question, though. I got an 11-year-old right now that I'm working with. I'm not sure. I was really fortunate. I had parents that were teachers, and I felt like I had a really good environment. I loved playing whatever sport I was playing, football, basketball, lacrosse. I think I'd go back to that same advice I gave you a bit earlier. I was a guy that would get down on myself at times. You know, I didn't understand the difference between, you know, being hard versus down. I love to compete. Like I said, I was very competitive, but sometimes to a fault, you know, where, you know, if I lost, it would affect me. It would affect my mood. It would affect my behavior. It would affect the way I treated others. And it could almost kind of be to a fault, you know, because of the way I competed and just the way I attack things. So I think if I had to go back, I would just be better at being able to self-reflect and to ultimately, you know, be consistent with that challenge of myself, but to not get down, you know, to keep the confidence, to keep that positivity, you know, and to just understand that tomorrow's a new day. You know, if today didn't break the way you wanted it to, then get up and attack tomorrow and continue to be really positive that way.
Coach, you're putting you on the spot with some of these questions, you know. So one question I have for you, you know, I hear it all the time, like, as lacrosse players, should I be playing lacrosse year round? Should I be playing other sports? What should I be doing, you know, as far as how much should I be focusing on lacrosse and other sports?
Yeah, I get that question a lot. And, you know, I would just say the majority of our men on our team were at least 2-sport athletes in high school. There's a rare 3-sport varsity guy that goes the distance in all 3. But almost every guy on our roster played 2 sports through high school. So, you know, I'm hard pressed to tell a young man he should do this or do that. You know, I just think at the end of the day, it's about your engagement. Are you growing? Are you developing? I know for me, I was never going to play college football, but growing up, going to a public school in state of Maine, where lacrosse wasn't very big, you know, my football and basketball coach, they were more impactful on me as a man and mentors in my life than anyone at that time, you know. So that was critical for my growth as an athlete. Getting a chance to experience different captains, different teams, different cultures, I think was critical to just my growth. And I think for guys, when they do get to college, you know, there's something to be said for that. That being said, you know, the opportunities obviously now exist more than ever to play lacrosse. I saw some pretty uninspired lacrosse at the end of the summer. You know, I saw some guys that had played in so many tournaments that by the end of July were really what I refer to as autopilot. They were just going through the motions. Like, think about a plane on autopilot. The plane's just sitting there, you know, the captain's sitting there and the plane's just flying itself. I saw lacrosse players that were going through the motions, and good lacrosse players, you know, and I think that's not the game that you want to play, and you don't want to be evaluated on autopilot. So when you do play, I'd rather see you play in 2 or 3 and really go for it. And if you're feeling burnt out or you're feeling tired, then don't do it, you know. But if you're going to do it, you're going to do it all the way. And I just think that we're all guilty of that. There's times when I'm on autopilot, you know, whether it's a Zoom or staff meeting or something, you know, you got to be able to recognize when you are and really get yourself back engaged. So got sidetracked there a little bit, but those are just a couple thoughts that I would give you. What else we got here? Do public schools? Yeah, we recruit public schools. We got 15 states and 2 provinces of Canada right now on our roster. So absolutely, mentioned a couple of guys from Baltimore and the MIAA that we recruited, but we certainly have young men from all over the United States, and public and private. Say the one here. You know, better off ball player. That's good. It's a good question. You know, I think, you know, again, going back to basketball, going back to, you know, the ability to communicate, you know, the ability to really embrace, you know, the importance of posture. You know, it's very easy to take plays off when you're off ball. And, you know, it's really a mental discipline, you know, as an off ball player, of how committed you are. And everybody wants to guard the ball. Are you really excited about being a guy that's in and out? You know, are you a 1 foot in the paint guy constantly? You know, do you really pride yourself on your ability to support your teammates? Is it a big deal for you to be a guy that's constantly communicating to guys that are adjacent to you and saying the right things? And, you know, it's easy to nod your head and say yes, but to really make that, go out to the practice field and make that your checklist. You know, watch great defensemen. You know, PLL is very accessible now. College lacrosse very accessible. You know, we talk about posture a lot at Ohio State. You know, the defenseman's posture and the way your stance, being able to sustain athletic posture. We call it cheetah stance. But being able to be in a really athletic stance for long periods of time and be comfortable there, 70, 80, 90 seconds at a whack. It's not as easy as you think, and so I think that, again, that's a toughness thing. It's easy to maybe stand up or take a play off ball. Great off ball players are typically very disciplined players. They're very tough because it takes that level of personal discipline to be great off the ball. So those would be a couple things there that I would mention along that journey. Might be it. I think I missed any there, Coach Capinos.
No, that was everything in the chat. Coach, phenomenal job. Really appreciate your input. Feel like we got a lot out of this. I mean, some really, really great stuff. Planting some awesome seeds here for the boys and for these families. And I can't thank you enough for coming on here. So really appreciate your time right now. Thank you so much.
Yeah, very grateful and wish all the families here all the very best. Thank you. Go Bucks.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you, Coach.
All righty. So I hope that helped everyone get a better understanding of the recruiting process, being a better teammate, just everything in general, just life. And, moving forward right now. So what we'll do is we'll have the 25s hop off the call and we'll have the 27s stay on. Actually, sorry, timeout. Let me backtrack. So we're going to have the 25s and 27s stay on. Ryan's going to go over what the season's going to look like from the fall, winter, spring, and summer perspective. So we have everybody on here. We get to ask those questions and we get a better feel for what to expect moving forward.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Casey. I know I've had the privilege of meeting most of you, but for those first time or new families, welcome. My name is Ryan Hornberg. I have the privilege of being the director for all of FCA Lacrosse. And man, just what a special time, to get some few minutes there with Coach Myers. I know there's lots of people that would love that opportunity. I know Coach Myers is a very busy man, just got back from California, being a part of the indoor box games, but just awesome, and even as a parent, as a director, right, we can even jot down a few things to take away from that. And I think one of the things I love is we're always learning, right? We're always asking questions. We're always developing. And that doesn't mean just as a 2025 or 2027, that means as a coach, that means as a director, that means even as parents as well too. So wanted to just take a few minutes real quick just to kind of go over some things just as we start to look at calendars and kind of set our sights ahead on the fall and spring seasons ahead. So gonna just kind of go through a few things, maybe even throw out some dates, but please know that you guys will get all this stuff via email by the end of next week, as we're just still formulating things, but we're excited just for a great year ahead. We obviously were impacted a little bit by COVID last year. And, if someone can figure out where we are with COVID today or tomorrow, I don't know, but regardless, we're going to continue to do what we did last year and just run the play and do our thing. Okay. We appreciate, though, as we do it, just your flexibility and grace, because we only have control over certain things. And like Coach said, with his formula there, right, we can only control our actions, or reactions to the events that pop up. So first things first, we've got a really special thing that we've never done before popping up. So September 19th, which is a Sunday, is the Pll Championship Game down in Washington, D.C. at D.C. Audi Field. And we have gotten tickets for every single player, every single family member to be a part of that game. So we'll be sending out a registration link here by the end of the week for that. But again, September 19th, down in Washington, D.C. Game is at 12 noon. And we invite you to join us for a special Pll Championship Game for all members of the FCA Lacrosse Club, which we're excited about. We plan to kick off fall practices at the end of September on the 19th as well, too. So I know that game's at noon. We'll have opportunities to practice, but what we've normally done from a club standpoint is practiced in the later Sunday afternoons into the evenings. And we've just found, with multiple sport athletes like Coach was talking about, I know a lot of you guys are playing soccer. I know a lot of you guys are playing football. And so it's really hard just to find a day during the week that won't conflict with somebody's schedule. So we've kind of pinpointed going to Sunday afternoons into Sunday evenings for those practices. And those will kick off on the 19th of September. We try to do our best to navigate Ravens games. I know that's important schedules for a lot of fans on here. For those that aren't Ravens fans, I know you don't care, but we'll do our best just to kind of navigate different Ravens games as we go throughout the season as well too. Okay. We're still in the process right now of figuring out where those practices are going to be. Majority of them will be at either Goucher, Loyola University, and or Calvert Hall. I know some schools are still green light as far as allowing people on campus, especially with vaccination stuff. Some are starting to relook at these things as they, start to open up for the fall with different students and stuff. So for now, those will be the 3 spots that we'll be practicing at the most this fall. On the 26th, we're targeting a parent kickoff. So for those that have been a part of the club for, more than this past last year, you'll know that we like to take a time just to gather all the parents together. And so on Sunday, the 26th, we'll be doing a potential parent kickoff that evening. We'll bring all of our FCA parents together. We'll pass out some gear, but we'll kind of just go through just kind of just expectations and kind of communicate just from the top down for each and every age group of what the season is going to look like and the different things you can expect. Okay. This fall, we'll be working with Coach Casey to select 2 kind of high-level competitive tournaments. I know for the 25s, you guys start to take that jump up to high school. And so the tournaments, start to become showcases or recruiting events. And so guys like Coach Myers and his assistant coaching staff will be at literally all of these high-level tournaments. For the 27 guys, you guys still have time for that stuff, but we look to put you guys in some really, really high competitive events just to get that, that expertise of playing against good teams that we want. Okay. So as soon as we get those locked down, we'll make sure that we communicate those dates to you all as well too.
Ryan, for the 27s, it's looking like we're going to do the NLA tournament, which is November 13th. Haven't locked it in 100% yet, but I reached out to Dan today to enter us in that tournament. So expect to be playing in the NAL, assuming that it gets locked in.
Yep, that's great. And then I know for the 25s, the NAL high school event is the day after the 14th. So that's another one. I know Coach Drew has been working to pencil those in, but 13th for the 27s, 14th for the 25s for sure. And like I said before, we'll make sure once we get those locked in, hopefully by the end of this week, that we'll be able to communicate those dates out to you guys. I know it makes it easier just for plan schedules and different events that you guys have in the fall. Okay. We also have a fall service day that we'll be doing in the month of October, an opportunity for all of our families, all of our players, all of the parents to come on out and serve at First Fruit Farm. You never know what you're going to do there, but in the past we've picked some potatoes. So it's a fun time just to come out for a few hours. I think last year we picked 54,000 pounds of potatoes in a 3-hour period. So it's also, just an opportunity just to hang with the teammates and just to give back in a different way, I love what Casey said at the beginning there. Did you say 2,500 hours or was it 25,000? 2,500, I think it was. 2,500 hours of community service as a team. Like, that's just awesome to hear, and it just shows you the balance of what those Buckeyes players do both on and off the field, which is incredible. All right. When we get to the wintertime, obviously we'll continue to do our indoor skills and drills training. The one difference for the 25s is, you guys are in high school now. And so, once kind of January hits, you guys are locked and loaded with your high school teams. And they'll be starting to do different practices. They'll be starting to do different things. So unfortunately, we'll see less of you guys. You guys will not be participating in a spring season because you'll be playing high school lacrosse, obviously. But for the 27s, they'll be locked in with skills and drills training. Coach Capinos and others obviously will be a part of that training aspect. And then we'll go right into the spring HOCO season, which everyone knows about. Summertime for both, we'll be practicing 2 times a week. We'll have 3 tournaments. Most of the tournaments will be, somewhat in the mid-Atlantic area. We might look at a couple other ones just for a fun experience for the guys. But obviously we'll work with Coach Casey and others and Coach Drew to put those together. Okay. So that's just kind of a little snapshot for you guys of what to expect ahead. Obviously, like I said, we'll be putting this in writing so that you have it, so you can block off your calendars. We know it's a busy time of year for everyone, and so we want to make sure that we can get those dates and information to even every one of our parents and families as soon as possible. So anyways, again, appreciate you all being here. I know it's an exciting time for both the 27s and 25s, and we're pumped for a great season ahead. Casey, I'll turn it back over to you, bud.
Guys, I really appreciate everyone's time getting on this call. Boys, keep working, keep getting after it. And I just want to thank everyone again. I mean, I really appreciate, and I'm looking forward to getting out there this season with everyone. I was thinking about keeping the 27s on to do introductions as a team, but right now it's looking like we went way over time, and I want to be respectful of everyone's time. I know some people are on vacation and some people have got other practices, and we're missing some people right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send out an email, and we're going to get together as a team, the 27s, and we'll do that introduction in the future. But right now we're just going to end this Zoom call. It's 7:55, so we've gone for about 55 minutes, and we'll do that meeting in the future. So that's the plan right now. If you guys have any questions, you have my email, you have my phone number, reach out to me. While we're on here, are there any questions while I have everyone?
When will practices get started?
So we're looking to start practices Sunday the 19th is when the first fall practice will kick off. Yep. So an awesome time in August, not to necessarily put your stick away and not use it, but like Coach said, you know, sometimes you get to the end of summer and you watch, as a college coach, you watch a lot of uninspired lacrosse, you know, and, you know, you got to take care of your body. You got to take care of rest. You got to take care of relaxation. And so, you know, take some time away from lacrosse, you know, enjoy some vacation time as a family, but we'll get after it, you know, going hard in September.
Jerseys are not set. Are we going to practice in our panties?
Yeah, for now, you'll be practicing in your trial pennies. We're in the process now, as we were getting people almost have everyone registered here for the year, but we're in the process of working with coaches to, you know, make sure that we got uniforms ordered with different numbers that you guys requested. So you guys will love the stuff that we're putting together from a uniform standpoint, but also a gear standpoint as well, too.
Thank you, Coach Ryan.
Yep. Anything else? Awesome. We'll appreciate everyone being part of the call. Coach Casey, you want to close this out in prayer quick?
Yeah. Dear God, I thank you for this time, all these families, Coach Myers. I pray that we can continue to, you know, bless you and glorify you. And thank you for this time together. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the last couple of weeks here of summer. Take care.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.